I recall my most interesting experiences with Erickson was when on my third visit, my third week there, he said that it wasn't right for me to continue to come and ask the same question every time, that I needed to do something different. I should go find the boojum tree growing in the desert. And I had never heard of a boojum tree at the time. There's actually a real tree that's in the botanical gardens, and it's quite easy to find if you know that you're looking for one. And probably people have seen them in the desert, but just not realized what they were. But I didn't know the name, and I looked skeptical, and he explained it was a real tree that Lewis Carroll had written about it. And I said, well, Lewis Carroll wrote about a rabbit with a watch running down a rabbit hole, too. So that's not your best credible source of real information. And then he tried to spell it for me, and he misspelled it over and over, and that interested me because I already knew that he'd read the entire unabridged dictionary by the time he was done with third grade, and he knew how to spell. He's the editor of the American Journal of Clinical Hypnosis, and was a good editor. He'd written a number of 300 articles, so this man knew how to spell, and here he was having trouble, whether it was B-O-O, no B-U-J, no B-O-G, no B-O-O-J, no B-O-U-G, and he kept misspelling it until he finally hit upon it. He said, no, that's it, B-O-O-J-U-M, boojum tree. It's a real tree. It grows wild and north of Squaw Peak, so go, also in the botanical gardens, but don't go there. Go to Squaw Peak, and you'll see it growing. And when you do, your conscious mind will know it's a tree, and your unconscious will say, I don't believe it. So go into a trance the way I told you to, and look at it from trance, and then your unconscious will know it's a tree, and your conscious mind will say, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, I don't believe it, I just don't believe it. And then he leans forward and he said, and look for the creeping devils. They'll be there. And then he turned his wheelchair and gave concrete meaning to the concept of cold shoulder. It's just, he was talking to everyone else and I was now excluded. So after a few minutes, I realized this meant that I was supposed to go find the boojum tree. and so I went to the hotel, got my tennis shoes, and went back to the Squaw Peak area and wandered around the desert. But I wasn't thinking it was a real tree. I thought that there was a those little games where you scramble up the letters and it spells something else. So I was trying to respell. You can get jumbo out of it, you can get boo, you can get bum, and I was thinking about the things that I scared myself with in some big way that was going to, make the prophecy come true. If you don't go to college, you're going to be a bum, and all the things that I had scared myself away from, standing up to some professors in the University of Michigan, and not dating somebody because I thought they were out of my range or too pretty or something, and not majoring in medicine because I didn't think I was up to par for that kind of curriculum, and all the things I used to scare myself. I was pretty sure that's what we were talking about here because of the ambiguity of the thing. And then all of a sudden I noticed this gigantic upside down carrot in the ground, and I realized, oh my gosh, that's some kind of a succulent tree. I don't believe it. And then I remembered him saying that I'd know it was a tree and say I don't believe it. So then I'm supposed to go into trance and look at the thing. So, well, no problem. So I went into the trance the way he showed to experience it without the conscious associations. And basically this is a person standing very still in the desert, in the dirt, looking at a tree in the sunlight. And I thought, gosh, this really is a real tree. This wasn't an exercise for this other purpose. I don't believe it. But on the other hand, I can't believe that he didn't know that that wouldn't happen because he respelled it. So I can't believe, and I kept saying I don't believe it in reaction to now looking at the boojum tree again. And then I remember him saying there'd be creeping devils, and so I was really at this moment expecting some interesting phenomena. I thought this is when my hallucinations will start. Now really, the mystery will unravel. But instead, basically, I was just standing there looking, and I saw the horizontal cactus growing around the base of the boojum tree, which I later came to learn is a cactus called the creeping devil that grows in the alkalinity created by the boojum tree's use of the soil. Anyway, I figured, well, gosh, that probably was, if you stumble on that viney cactus, that's probably what someone would call creeping devil. And so I guess I've seen the creeping devil. I don't believe I was so stupid. So I go back to his office, and I come in and I sit down in the chair, and he turns to me and he looks at my feet and my knees and my fingertips like I've been digging in the dirt or something. And finally he looks at me in the face and he says, "So you saw the Boojum tree?" And I said, "Yeah, I think so." And he said, and he leans forward, he said, "Did you see the creeping devils?" He had this big grin on his face. And I wasn't real sure I'd seen the Boojum tree, so I was a little bit less sure I'd seen the creeping devils. So, because I still wasn't sure that the botanical stuff that I saw was properly labeled that way, and I still wasn't sure that he didn't mean all that other stuff I'd been thinking about for an hour while I walked around in the desert. So I fairly incongruently said, I think so, yeah. And then he leaned even more forward with even a bigger grin, and he said, "Remember that." And I couldn't break the gaze. It seemed very compelling to try to remember, and I was remembering the whole little journey. I was remembering everything I thought, and I was remembering seeing the Boojum tree. And my face must have been an idiomotor movie of all of these events in my life that I'd basically scared myself about for the longest time. I don't know how long it was. It was an appropriate social moment of time. It may have been 20 seconds, it may have been a minute, it may have been a minute and a half. I don't think it was that long, but it was a pretty long time. And finally, he broke the gaze, and he said, so now the sequence here is he says, "Remember that," and then says, "There'll always be creeping devils. And now I want to teach you something else." And off he goes into a new story.